for a divine feminine that is a whole, healthy, self-worth person, we know how it is to be ordinary. And that is why the 5D mystics in the Enlightenment Soul Age group know about what it is to be a actual divine feminine when I use those words because of this. So I'm going to read to you Mutt, being ordinary. And even like mutts, right? There are mutts, and there are people who don't want a mutt because it's not a breed, right? Okay, so let's look at what a actual divine feminine who knows that all creation is unconditional love. We all have flaws and imperfections. We all have integrity when we're whole, which means that you have active, self-empowered you. And so you activate a solar plexus with a heart chakra that also has a throat and a third eye. All your chakras are aligned and in wholeness. You know, thank you, Sadhguru, it is not because of fear that you have ego. Because of ego, you have fear. You don't get rid of ego. You understand that your inner child is yours, and you become your inner child adult through good therapy, and then you continue with lovely spiritual and secular self-help if you want, here at IHP with mindfulness, mindset, and mindset practices day to day. And in our relationships, we get to use our functional adult love language and put into practice love, the divine feminine, divine masculine, and that's romantic love and actual love and its passion and more. So, being ordinary, as our lovely daylight goes out, her name means mother. She is depicted as a woman wearing a golden headdress in the likeness of a vulture. Mut is the mother of all things and is associated with the primordial waters of the god Nun, from whom everything in the world was born. She symbolizes permanent creation. She establishes the conservation of things. Mut will offer you her necessary presence if you put your whole heart into working to give benefit and advantage to your home and your family. You will only facilitate the production and increase of wealth, especially material goods, by maintaining respectful and regular behavior on a daily basis through enthusiasm and dedication, which is what an integrated brain, therefore a person who has mind, heart, and body integration, that's your default mode network down regulated. Your left and right mode are your friends. I call this the masculine, this the feminine. What comes up from in here, you don't project without a critic, and you don't do inner critic, and you don't use your emotional charges. Okay, so you are actively a person who knows how to have open communication. You do not take offense if you meet people who, let's say, they don't know their self-lens. And so when you meet a borderline personality individual, they actively have splitting and black and white thinking. And so they can go from seeing you as a good person to completely evil, and they will not be as likely to trust a person who is kind to them. They actively misinterpret neutral facial expressions. And that's not only borderline, it's any person who has also childhood developmental trauma. They will continue to date people that are going to be low self-esteem and dark communicators, passive aggressive, and they actively protect and defend. And then they also do things like follow the same people who tell them to shame people. So whenever you find somebody who actively thinks that our human species doesn't have kindness or goodness, you're in the presence of a person who doesn't know that they are beautiful the way they are, and that's because they were not shared that unconditional love of the true feminine energy. True feminine is a nurturer. The masculine, in order to come and meet their infinite potential, it is to be captured and to be harnessed, but that's by their own self. So your mind captures and harnesses that which comes up. But if you shove it back down with alcohol, with drugs, fucking, and then you actively don't know your lens, so again, for BPD, they will reactively go from calm to fighting because they're looking for a fight. They get hypervigilant. And they also have a shame button. So once they know their lens and they're healing, then they're ready to create a relationship. Other than that, they will be unaware, and they might use stories for themselves. The family in the head, the inner critic is, it's always my fault. I'm bad, I'm bad. So again, very important for us to remember that the ones who are healing authentically, they will know of their stories and they will share with us what's going on. They actively have open communication, and that's because they know how to. Being on the spiritual path means understanding that the source of your trouble and the source of your well-being are within you. They understand that mindset is everything, that being able to sift through their body means mindset, which will mean, though, that with awareness, what comes up, they can have a safe haven, secure base. So regulating the nervous system, and therefore mindfulness. A mindful listener, a mindful practitioner such as myself that involves and integrates all these with self-help and personal development, whether you're on a spirituality journey or not, will know if we have a window tolerance that's being hit. Because if your day-to-day doesn't grow more loving and you don't grow your relationships, we have an equation. And furthermore, with me, with all my courses, I can tell if somebody has potential alters, potential lens, and that's when you get a good therapist, because I'm not the therapist. The good therapist gives official and good diagnoses, and I have a buttload of people that I know as a network who I rely on if I ever need them as a serious, spiritual, holistic practitioner who actively knows the bad therapists. Well, there's bad spiritual and bad therapists and bad practitioners and bad politicians. And you know who the bad? They're all bad because they're ineffectively using their mouths as they don't bring people together. But there's the good group. They actively empower you with information, and they empower you with words, and they empower you with knowing you don't need to use some fancy language. You want to notice authenticity, which the good ears of people can tell. So when you are ready to embrace your authentic self, you will hear the voices of those of us who talk from an open heart. As long as you're not open to getting out of your shame button, not mine, and I hope you don't have one, but all I can tell you is as long as you meet someone, because I've met them, they're not ready to go and get that emotional body reconnected and to get out of shame. Oh, you can talk from today to tomorrow. Oh, they'd be able to learn how to twist your words however they may. They're the spiritual bypassers and the mantles of mental health. They're very intriguing. No, not at all. But you know where they're at. They're going to be self-righteous. They're going to know everything. And they're actively going to not notice anything also because they're actively not ready. My somatic therapist teachers all made us all aware as we were all concerned and crying and sad for all human beings who have unresolved trauma and, you know, they don't know about sensory motor and somatics and child parts work and EMDR and all that can help them to get healed and move into their restored embodiment, self-aware, accountable, and regulating body. All of those who cared in my courses, they were the ones who they don't care. They have mantles on. They care, but like teenagers. I know all that is right, and I'm going to create my group, and we're going to become the best of the best of the best. So those are all copycats, if you ask any person who knows what it is to be authentic. They're copying someone, and they have a mantle, and they're not yet proud and in a space of authenticity, of being ordinary and knowing we're all here and we're all doing the best we can. And even the ones who don't have the capacity to do the best, they're organized. We hope to get them the help. If they choose to not move into that self-awareness, accountability, regulation, well, there is this dark matter, dark energy. There's this balance that is present out there. But put that aside for some other day, not now, as the sun goes out. I just want to conclude with we like to support those who want to move into themselves, and those who will want to move into their self will be by being and tribing and coming to those who are authentic and who bring sciences and spirituality together. They don't do name calling and organizing groups and make blanket, if you will, statements, and you know they try to empower again and bring people together and then share, okay, here's what you can watch out for, here's what you can do, here's what you want to know. What I've noticed is the ones who don't want to go and get the good therapy, they're the ones who deny their self to them. And that is, as my somatic teachers were saying, some are not ready for it. So as long as the 16-year-old is spiting the parents, but they're also spiting their self because they're not wanting to meet the 3-year-old who's hiding behind the chair because the 3-year-old had no other option except for staying at home. The 1-year-old had no other option except for freezing in that crib, and so the body had no other option except to adapt the brain and embodied brain to the circumstances at hand. 16-year-old still hasn't figured it out, and in fact, It's only once they have enough space for self-compassion, a little bit, that they'll be able to notice, wait a minute, I am worthy. What is this deal? Hey, stop being an inner critic. You inner critic? Hey, stop being outer critic. You outer critic? What the fuck? And noticing, okay, I'm the common denominator, but I'm curious. And it's because I know enough about attachment and trauma at this point in our lovely 2024 that I'm not a piece of shit. And I don't have to romanticize and sit in it, and I don't have to demonize it either. I'm going to go proactively take care of this, because that way I can fulfill what is my embodied experience and live a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. So there's spirituality, but also with my herd, create deep relationships. And that's by being ordinary. So some of us have clairs, but that still doesn't mean we're not ordinary. We're just as ordinary as anybody. We just have more stories for some people. I look forward to hearing from you all. Like, share, and subscribe. And have a wonderful day.